Shut up. Tell them that. Oh,
I'm out.
That's it. I'm leaving now.
Sorry,
I didn't sign up for any meetings, any presentations being recorded for training and quality purposes.
No,
Anything you say may be recorded and kept for court appearances.
Yeah.
My lawyer said I have to record these sessions.
Okay. Oh, now my internet connection is unstable. Great.
Is that the year of the 24th of July 2221? I've been asleep longer.
Oh dear.
Don't point out things like that.
Details, yeah.
This is the first session of the show.
They've all fallen over already.
I didn't know I'd overslept after a late night, but that's just a bit.
Well done.
Well,
I know, and it's P4 when we should be getting everything right, shouldn't we?
Right.
No, don't follow those old theories. We're all the same. Well, most of us are the same. You right, John?
Oh, yeah.
Tell me the meeting's starting. I fucking started it.
Oh, yeah.
Christ.
Oh, Mr. Hall.
Apologise for the language.
Right, Mr. Hall.
I beg your pardon.
I think I misunderstood the tagline anyway, Simon, when I joined the P4 Society, that it meant all right, as in okay, not bad. It'll do.
Yeah. Do you get it though?
Bertie, it was lucky you started on small out to test it all out, isn't it, really?
That's right, that's what I thought.
It's a good idea.
Small
And go bigger.
Yeah. So when I finish this one, I'm going to do Eastleigh, I think, or something like that.
That's a good idea. That'd be lovely. Is that with the works as well?
Why not? Yeah.
Well said. I like your thinking.
Yeah. Yeah, ambitious.
Do it, Bertie. Some of us might not make it to the end.
Is Thames Fiddleyard big enough for that?
Well,
probably not, actually, Simon.
No. No, it's a long way. It's a big old site, isn't it?
Yeah. The bit between the two bridges, where the station is and the yard's not too bad. It's the other bit that goes down to Fairham that's the problem, really. But,
oh yeah.
Yeah, the work sidings and the yard in the Winchester direction goes up a long way as well, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Mm.
Got the long welded rail depot as well, where they load the wagons and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Definitely a goer, Bertie. Do some sketches.
Yeah.
You have to switch to T scale, I think.
Wise words, Simon.
Yeah.
Engage. It might be more.
Or what? Go on, finish the sentence.
More shite, you mean?
More achievable in that.
Oh, no offence.
Oh dear.
That is recorded, isn't it?
Yes. I also know how to edit as well, Carl.
So what's the Lydd Rail standard for on timing? I won't need the full hour.
No rush at all.
No, go until 5 past, Joey.
Let a few people join. There's no rush. I'm just enjoying the graphics at the moment.
Have you worked out what the circuit is? I've no idea.
I don't think that's. Is it easy to do that then? Because it's over my head. I can see it's a circuit.
It's a bit bizarre having the large areas of copper on there. I know what it is. That's the contacts under a keyboard. These are the. I don't know if you can see my cursor. Probably
Yes.
not.
Yeah.
The circles correspond to the buttons under a keyboard, and it's 2 layers of clear stuff printed with tracks with contacts between them, I think.
Yeah.
Looks familiar, that sort of thing. When you take your keyboard apart to get all the crumbs out, that's what you find.
You have to take the crumbs out. What are you talking about?
Well, I do. I used to have lunch at my desk, and it was disgusting. When I brought the keyboard home to start working from home, I can't have that in the house.
We use washable keyboards at work.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I took it apart, put all the plastic parts through the dishwasher.
Clever. That's a good idea.
Yeah, it worked quite well, except part of it was rubber coated and that all came off, so I had to respray part of it.
Oh dear.
Don't even have an office to go to at the moment.
Why is that?
We're relocating.
Oh.
Everyone's been working from home. They've been gradually closing down our old site. And my desk's been removed now, but not allowed into the new one for a couple of months yet.
Oh.
And then it'll only be for 2 days a week.
You okay with that sort of arrangement?
It's where the working from home's wearing a bit thin now.
Yeah.
So it's kind of an internal consultancy, and I tend to working on at the moment. I've never met the people I'm working with, so you sort of lose that personal connection that gives you much motivation. It's a real slog.
Yeah, good point.
Shut away in my little office.
Doesn't look too bad.
No, it's behind me is my modelling desk.
Oh right.
Got that's a bottle of clear on the top there. The original formula.
Shouldn't that be in a safe, Simon? Locked away.
Yeah, the rest of my stash is in a secure storage, temperature controlled.
Excellent.
In Switzerland.
I can't tell you that. Yeah. So Paul asked me to do a talk. I've offered to talk about my experiences of using servos on Moore Street. I've been a MERG member for a long time. When I first seriously started P4 modeling, I was really interested in doing electronics. I work in the automotive industry and do lots of 12 volt. It was quite appropriate knowledge and experience. But then all the DCC stuff came along, and the things I was interested in developing were commercialized and ready to buy off the shelf. So I kind of lost the need and motivation to continue doing in my own electronics. I stayed a member of MERG, and it's proved to be very handy for these kits and learning about servos and whatnot. So I've offered to do the talk on this subject. So here's what I'll be talking about. What the heck is a servo anyway? What can you use them for? How do you install them mechanically? little bit about MERG, the servo controller I've used, how you set that up, my general experience with that, and a few conclusions. Probably only take 10 minutes. So first of all, what is a servo? It's an actuator that's long been used and standardized in various sizes in the model aircraft world. You can see a selection of sizes of them there. They're a little plastic or metal package, contains a motor, gears, and electronic interface. So you can plug any servo into any radio control unit in the plane or whatever it is you're controlling, and it should work. And an electronic signal from your controller sets the angular position of the output shaft in response to its control input. They usually refer to a date and position halfway through the travel, and a plus or minus 90 degrees of rotation at maximum. Because they're from model aircraft, and model aircraft like nothing better than crashing, they must be selling millions of these things, and that's brought the prices right down. And I think on Moore Street I bought a pack of 10 for less than 20 quid, so it's a lot cheaper than the model railway point actuators, for example. A downside is it's not a standalone device. You do need some electronics to control it, and the mounting hardware, when I did it, you needed to figure it out for yourself. Nowadays there's lots of different mounting kits available in 3D prints and laser cut, and I think some etched brass ones as well. That's what servos are. Oh yeah, you can see on the tops of these devices the little white plastic circles and arms and crosses. They usually get a little bag of them with each servo, and screws to hold them on. So you get a little selection of hardware for hooking things up. Typically, hello, my little helper's come to see me. Oh, sorry guys, would you excuse me for just a minute? We have a spider emergency. So I'll be right back.
Yeah, that's urgent, Simon. Hey, Bertie, you were lucky last night. I didn't get to bed until after 2 o'clock.
Did you not?
No.
No, that's a bit. It was about an hour after I went.
Yeah. Just a few drunks just slundering around. It's pointless.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sorry, guys. Right. My son's terrified of spiders, unfortunately, and one just one just had a go at him. I've just ejected that out the window. The spider, not the sun, that is. So yeah, typically you convert the rotary motion of the servo output to linear, but you might connect it straight up for some things. Next, what can we use them for? Really anything that needs mechanical positioning. So points, signal arms, level crossing gates, other toy-like features. Depending on the controller, you can set up the movement speed and the distance. And some of the controllers let you simulate a signal bounce as well. I haven't used that, but because I'm using Great Western signals and I'm looking at videos of those, they don't bounce much. I've got a little helper with me now. Hey Tom, do you want to say hello to everyone? No? Okay. You might see some movement in the background. So these are a couple of pictures of the installation on the signal arms on Moore Street. Single arm semaphore signal, but with 2 mechanical route indicators. So you can see I've stacked 3 servos on top of each other. The actuating arms pull wires that are going through the signal tube, which is the middle of the vertical brass tubes you can see. The outer 2 are the brackets that on that right hand picture you can also see the brown, red, orange ribbon cables from each of the servos. That's a standard wiring convention for these, and they go to a socket that plugs into a header on the controller board that you can see on the right hand edge of the picture. So they're dead easy to wire up. These are called 9G servos, which are the most, they're less than a couple of quid each. They will lift at 1 centimetre from the centre, they will lift over 1 kilogram. So they're pretty powerful. Next one. So on Moore Street, I've got banks of those servos doing the signals, and I've got a larger one that operates the traverser. So you can see that in its 2 positions. And in that case, for the traverser, I've put a longer arm on the servo output, and that to give enough linear movement to move the traverser, which moves a couple of inches. And that runs on draw slides, roller bearing draw slides, so very little friction. I've set this one up so that the travel limits are it's a mechanical. So it just thumps the traverser onto the edge, as far as it can go at the limit, and the servo keeps trying to drive it a little bit further than that, just to ensure the traverse is held firmly in location and the rails are properly aligned at each position. So a little bit about MERG. That's the blurb from their website. It's the Model Electronic Railway Group. It's a society much like DMU. I'm not sure how many members they have, a couple of thousand, I think. And they have there's a lot of knowledge of electronics. I think in the years I've been on there, it shifted as a group from a group that are using electronics to enhance their model railways It's now more of a group of people who are very interested in electronics and want to model railway so that they've got something to play with the electronics on. So it's a lot more. There's a lot more electronic gadgetry than maybe necessary, but so you see a lot of. I've built a test plank that's got 100 signals and 50 points on, and no realism whatsoever. Yeah, you see a lot of that, a lot of electronics and a lot less model railway these days. But it's still a very useful group. I've really remained a member just to keep access to the kits. I've also used they do a range of so everything apart from loco decoders. Also find they're extremely helpful if you do have electronic problems. And at £16 per membership per year, very good value too. So here's the servo controller board. They do a single servo and a 4 servo version. They also offer a range of 3D printed mounts for servos. If I were doing this again, I'd probably use those rather than my own little brass soldered up ones, although that didn't take long to do. So I use this Servo 4 board on Moore Street. Takes 4 switch inputs from the control panel. Has 4 outputs. It needs a 12-volt DC power supply. So it's got screw terminals and plug-in connections for things. So that's really easy to use. You don't need to solder anything else onto the board. And that the software in there, there's a microcontroller on board that does all the work. The software on there lets you set the end positions for each servo independently, and the speed that it moves between those 2 positions when you flick the switch. And you can set the speed differently for each direction of movement. And all that costs you just £4.93 for all the stuff you can. Very easy to assemble. Just basic soldering on of through-hole components on the circuit board. So just routine soldering on the other side of the board. What the way you set them up, I used some PC software that they issued years ago. You can see if I go back to the previous one, that's got a 9-pin D-type socket on it, and you hook up to the serial port on a PC, and this program lets you set everything up. So the red arrows show which connections you are working with, selected through the servo select thing there. Red and green boxes are each of the 2 positions. One bar sets the speed, the other bar sets the position. You got a little indicator there to show what you're doing. Once you've done the configuration, you can play with it on the screen, and it will drive the servos to the positions you've set. And you can save the data to the board, so it's permanently recorded. You don't have to set it up each time you use it. As an alternative to the PC kit, they offer this little setting box. I haven't played with that, so I can't say much more than that. It presumably does the same job as the PC software, but with a lot of button and knob twiddling instead of doing it on the screen. So my experience doing this, Moore Street's got 11 of these servos in total. We've done more than 30 exhibitions with it over 14 years. I have had no failures of a servo at this time, and this in all that time. And that's using the cheapest servos you can get. I haven't had to replace a single one. So that's pretty impressive, I think, at the price of them. Yeah, I found they were fairly easy to install. If you can do normal track work and maintain your models, you wouldn't have any problem doing this. And it would be even easier nowadays. Now the servo mount kits are available. I did find it was important to adjust the arm length on the servo, so that you used the full angular travel to achieve the sort of the amount of linear movement that you needed. And that's because the servo is controlling the position, which means if for the controller to set to move it at a certain speed, it has to set a series of intermediate positions on the way, visible steps. The other thing I was aware of but didn't fall foul of is that these servos are pretty powerful. They would easily mangle a signal operating mechanism. So you have to be careful while you're setting them up. So make sure you start in a neutral position that's not going to do any harm, and then adjust from there. But that setup's very easy to do with the software, and it's very convenient, obviously, that the control board remembers the settings permanently. First few outings with it, we did need to get the laptop out, plug it in and make a few minor adjustments, but I've not done that for not needed to do that for a long time now. It's all settled down and just works smoothly every time. I don't need to touch it, so that's really good. Problems, I did have virtually every one of the Servo 4 boards. They were originally designed to run off 12 volts on transformers, but I hooked it up and it seemed to work, so I left it at that. But the smoothing capacitor on the input to the boards, every single one of them exploded over time. So I've had to replace them all with a higher voltage rated component, and that solved that problem. Other thing I noticed, if your servo hits its mechanical limit, which is how the system's designed for the traverser, the servo to its position that's slightly further on than it can reach, and it will draw quite a high current if it does that. And we noticed that I solved that just by putting that caused the regulator on the circuit board to overheat. So I just added a heatsink, and that seems to manage that okay. Last one then, I found servos been great for mechanical actuation. I'd definitely use them again. Another layout, I'd use them for the point control as well. You can see on some of the earlier photos, I've used tortoise point motors on Moore Street. I'd go for servos again the next time. They're very cost effective compared to the commercial offerings. I guesstimate about a £5 for each thing you want to actuate, adding up control board, servo, and a mounting kit from the MERG range. I'd say MERG's well worth joining just to access the kits they do. And that's all I've got. Thank you.
That's very interesting, Simon.
no end of toy-like features you could have.
Well, I actually have one on the layout,
Ah, right.
but it was commissioned. It's for the semaphore signal to exit the yard towards Red Hill.
Ah,
And when I was refurbishing that, I thought, well, I might well get that working. So I got it made, and it's as you say, that sort of equipment, and it's very effective. They certainly have come along, haven't they?
I've lost you, Paul. I can't do.
You back?
Yes, got you now.
Yeah, so I was very impressed. It just shows what you can do with these things, isn't it? It's a good example.
Yes. Yeah. 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 I think Mostyn used them for their signals as well, but with, like you say, with a commission controller from somebody.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I was very impressed.
Yeah, and loads of other stuff MERG do as well. So on another layout, I've used their DCC accessory decoders. I think Phil used those on Calcutta as well.
Yeah. But for like the points and stuff.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah, he must have used dozens of them.
Yeah.
How does it work with polarity switching on the fogs?
They've been okay as well. I'm not sure not sure he'd do it again. We did have a lot of trouble debugging them, I think. Basically had to reverse engineer the code in them to work out how to do some of the programming. I'm happy to share the PowerPoint if you'd like. I can stick that on the
Yeah.
stick that on the site. Yeah.
Yeah, it will be handy, thanks.
So, Carl, did you say about polarity and frogs and stuff?
Yes. How do the servos work with polarity switching on the fogs?
Yes. There's no switch. There's no switch built into them, but the MERG servo mounts include a mounting point for micro switches, so you could use those, and you get your switching that way.
You say they've got
I
enough power.
I haven't played the.
Sorry, Simon. You say they've got enough power to shift about a kilo or so, depending on the servo.
Yes, yeah. Even those little ones. It's the 1 inch, 1.3 inch pounds, I think.
Good grief. Because although I'm perfectly happy with the wire and tube point actuators on South Sheppey, there's part of me would like to just have everything automated to work with the signals, so just route set in one hit. There's one point in particular, which is a nice S-bend for the wire and tube. If it can shift that and push that, it takes a little bit of thumb force just to get it to go. But if that's powerful enough to do one of those, then I'm very interested.
Yeah, it would definitely do it, because you wouldn't need a whole inch of movement, would you? No. I go back to.
I think it's the distance
to
it
go back to
has to travel is no more than a standard slider switch.
No, it's only going to be 2 or 3. Yeah. This slide is the signal actuator on Moore Street. They go about 5 millimeters. Half the distance, you've got twice the force there for the same torque.
Ooh. That means I'm probably
So
like,
I should think there's a good chance they'll be powerful enough. And if it's not, just buy a bigger servo.
yeah, true.
Because
How much?
there is a small.
So what sort of strength is the one that does the traversal? Presumably that can shift quite a lot more.
I can't remember. Yeah, that to give you an idea, if you set that to maximum speed by accident, and then flick the switch, that will tip a loco over. It will. It's like a. It really snaps that across, even with the weight of the Helgen loco on there. So they're very powerful potentially. And again, that was less than a tenner for that bigger one.
Excellent. Oh, that's food for thought. Because if it can shove across all I think 11 points plus another pair I'm yet to build, then I'm definitely in on that. Yeah, thank you.
All right. No. Yeah, I think you need to put a bit more effort into the mechanical work for the installation, but it's in terms of cost and controllability.
Cool. I mean, I might possibly have to rethink the routing for that one. I might actually just take out the wiring tube just for that one alone, and then just rejig a servo underneath. Since if I'm not going to be using the wiring tube side of things, I'll be changing where I presume also with the arm there, that can also touch a micro switch quite happily, can't it?
Yes, yeah, no problem with that. So I haven't used anybody's commercially made or the MERG kit mounts. I think that I'm sure there's lots around that will give you a mounting for a switch as well.
Excellent. I presume that's
so it's a properly
brass.
engineered solution.
That's just angle brass you've used.
It is, yeah. Yes, yeah. It's just two lengths of that soldered to the same brass as bracketed to the bottom of the baseboard.
They're readily available, those particular servos still?
Oh yes, yeah. Your Tower Pro 9G is the standard hobby and aircraft servo.
Brilliant.
Yeah, I have what did I see on Amazon? I think was what I saw when I had a quick look the other day.
Yeah, because I've not got a very deep baseboard section. It's about 3 inches, so tortoises are completely precluded, especially with the Exacta scale mount. And I don't really fancy cutting up into the baseboard and missing at the exact point where the tie bars are, and I'd much rather keep things as they are. But
signals
just
breaking up again.
It's much easier that way.
Yes, yeah, and that's the other thing. You've got all the flexibility of how to position it yourself, whether you have it remotely with a wire and tube or have it direct onto the onto your underneath your points.
I like the idea of that. Thank you.
Okay. Yeah. If you're not a MERG member, I'll happily order some kits for you and put them in the post.
Thanks. I used to be, but a few things lapsed.
Yes, yeah, I'm not surprised. Must admit, I rarely read the newsletters because it goes over my head now.
And like you say, most of the mails you see nowadays,
it's more complicated than I want to do.
Yeah, And I think most layouts, as you said earlier, they tend to be lots of electronics with added trains rather than trains with added electronics.
Yes, yeah. The focus of the group has changed a bit over the years. But there's still the basic kits are still there, very useful, I think. And if you find problems, they're very, very helpful. Like my capacitors exploding.
Yes. Yeah, because one of my dad's old university friends is a past chairman, I think even past secretary as well.
Sorry, my connection's failing, I think.
Yeah, don't worry.
Can you say that again, Tim?
Yeah, sure. So one of the past chairman stroke secretaries is my dad was at university with him. Or should I say my late dad. So if you know Howard Watkins.
Yes, I know.
Yeah. I mean, I knew Howard before I knew he was associated with my dad. So we used to see each other at shows a lot. And then I saw a photograph. There's an alumnus, an alumni thing. Went, I know who that is. So they both read physics together.
Yeah, it's a small world, isn't it?
Just a bit.
Yes. Yeah, I knew Paul King, who was one of the founders of MERG, quite well. He had some good stories. He was a Southern Railway man.
Oh, fantastic.
Yes, yeah. His claim to fame was the proposal during Class 73 testing to have a dedicated coach for displaying the wiring diagram in. Right. I think they'd have needed a whole coach boarded out just to pin the wiring diagrams up when they were out and about testing that. Just tow that around in the formation of the test train.
Very good idea.
Yeah, I dread to think how complicated those things must be, especially the first 6 which had even more clever stuff on board.
Or the JAs.
Yeah.
Gosh, so they simplified all that for the JBs. Wow.
Yeah, they had a lot more vacuum brake integration, I think. So you could drive a 70. You could drive the loco from an EP type unit in front of it, but you could then tow and vacuum brake stock behind it.
Cool.
So they did some sort of clever air to vacuum conversion. Goodness knows why, but they did.
How much from the Class 74s side of things how much from the 73s did the 74s take when they converted the 71s to ED?
Oh goodness, yes.
It was a totally different thing.
But even because they had a slightly more powerful engine, I remember.
Yeah, but they went for total electronic control. There was nothing like 73, and that's why it was one of its failures. They tried this new technology, and it wasn't very successful.
Oops.
You know, the engine, whatever, I don't think it was a great problem, but the technology around the electronics, I think, was a big problem.
Yes, definitely a step too far for the technology of the time. Was the 74
now, but it took time for it to develop, as you expect.
Because I'm wondering how much they've kept of the original 73 one in the 73 9s since they re-engineered them, but kept the ones with the third rail.
Yeah, I don't know much about those.
Because that must be absolutely fascinating with the mix of technologies of basically a brand new engine in an old body shell. All right. Thanks, Mike.
Well, I guess they probably just fitted them out with whatever's current and just use the shell, I should think.
Yeah.
What's the point in sort of deliberately sort of playing around with stuff that's about 50 or 60 years old?
If it isn't broken, don't fix.
I get the impression it was more like the 74s where they were, it might have been cheaper and easier to build a new loco.
Yes.
In all respect, except the politics of it.
Exactly.
Were a conversion rather than something new. Say there's probably politics that said you can't have any new locos, convert an old one that you're not getting full use out of.
That's the point of doing these. That's the point of doing these 56s, isn't it? It's to get around the emissions thing. They can put an engine in a current body and have grandfather rights.
Oh, yeah.
That's exactly what they did, I think, with the 9s, but it's how much of the control. I think the whole control gear was completely changed for most of it. With a much more powerful engine, but keeping the original sub and third rail electronics as well. Well, they're an interesting bit of kit from what I'm told, but I think the minions are as well, although they're a totally different sort of thing altogether.
As a keen fan of Twilight features, I'm trying to think if there's anything I could use some of this equipment for. Just have to think about that. Perhaps on a future layout.
Well, is there anything on Red Hill that's likely to need any of this sort of thing?
No, not really. Not that I think of.
Oh, I think we've lost Simon.
That explains it. Yeah, he's back.
I
back.
don't know what happened.
I thought we offended you.
What happened there?
Twilight features.
No, I like a nice Twilight feature. My connection failed.
Of course, I keep forgetting that I'm actually sat in front of one of them.
But that's what it is. It's interference from that.
Yeah. I can't remember if it was on electric power for that one, so it might have been.
Is it heading my direction, Tim? About 2 miles down the line?
Yes.
Yeah.
One very, very cold winter afternoon in early '99. 204 and a recently outshopped Pullman car. I forget where it was going to. I think it was 5Z04, hence the 04 bit.
Yeah, because it's missed out Stuart's Lane, isn't it? Going there.
Hello.
Hello, Mike.
Hi, Mike.
Good to see you.
Oh, here I am.
You're a bit chilly there.
No, certainly not. I'm in the railway room. I've got the windows shut because the sun would be streaming in.
Don't go on about it, Mike. You live in a nice place.
I'm preparing for spraying the track. What the hell's that?
Background.
I mean,
Handy for the airport where Mike is then.
Sorry?
Handy for the airport. It sounded like a
It wasn't me.
Flying aircraft.
Oh no, I don't know what the noise was.
Yeah, I think it was a motorbike.
What, past you?
Yeah, no, passing